We are live on Facebook, everybody. Welcome to the Healy Hangout, the second one of the year. Absolutely amazing to be here and to have a great guest on here tonight again. And it's great to see some faces here in the Zoom as well, which I always love, for people to join us here, just to kind of have the energy in the room. And I know a lot of people will be joining live on Facebook as usual. So that's great. There's also going to be a replay of this, and it will also be put on YouTube. So if you miss it or if you have to jump off at some point, don't worry, you'll be able to get that later. And we've got an amazing guest on this evening, someone that actually came into my awareness last year. He connected with me, and he's a fellow Healy enthusiast. Who's gone out there and, done a ton of research, has got lots of resources, has recently done an amazing video all just about Healy. And he reached out because he thought we could maybe do something together. And straight away, I knew that he could come on the Healy Hangout. So I'm super excited to welcome Guy Shah. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
Shah, but it's fine. Anything you like.
Guy Shah, and he's done a lot of things, and one of them is, I've already written it on the event as well. Maybe you could give us a little bit of an overview of what you've been up to with Healy, and also just what you've been doing recently, in your realm of work.
Okay, my realm is expanding. It's getting bigger and bigger. But Healy, it came into my life just about 6 months ago, in the middle of last year, just before the change to the new models. So I have the old version of the Resident. I got a couple of those, and it just seemed really interesting to me at first. It had come into my awareness a few times. Like, different people had started talking to me about the Healy, and the first time I was like, yeah, whatever. Second time it's like, oh, sounds a bit interesting. And eventually it got to the point where I think I should try this. And when I got it just turned into one of those things that I don't get excited about things so often, but it was one of those things that I got excited about for the first time in a long time. And in myself, what I noticed was, so my eyesight, for example, I was doing some work on the eyesight programs, the set of programs that come up for eyesight. That was one of the first things I did. And within a few days, nothing seemed to change, but within a few days, maybe a couple of weeks, I noticed that, look, now, if I want to, because I use these glasses for distance, I didn't used to be able to look at a computer screen with them. Now I could do this interview with these if you want me to. I'm more comfortable not to, but it's possible now, which wasn't before. And an even bigger thing was that for years I'd been disturbed in the night, every night, by digestion issues of some sort. I never really managed to work out what it was. After using the Healy for 2 or 3 weeks, that just stopped, and it's like I'm able to sleep through the night now. And if I wake up, I just go back to sleep again, and that didn't used to be possible before as well. So those were the first things that really grabbed me about Healy. Then I learned all the other functionality, like how you can make your own programs and put your own affirmations in, and I use that all the time. So now, because my communication's been really poor in the past week or so, but I realized today that I've got a set of affirmations on communication, and I'm running that now. So I put that on just before this interview, just so that I get that added support in stringing a sentence together coherently. But so many things you can do with the Healy, and then the coach module came along, and that's been really, really interesting, really remarkable how the results that come up are so in line with what I know about myself and with what I'm wanting to work on. And the results, I always find the results are very subtle. But if you sort of almost take a benchmark, and then a week later you're running the programs every day for a week, and I found that if I look back at the end of that week, there've been real noticeable changes. They've come about very gently, but there've been real noticeable changes as a result of doing it. So I love the Healy. And I'm starting to look at ways of integrating it with the other work that I do, which I don't know if I should just keep going on.
Well, no, I'd like to just add as well about Healy, just because, like, well, I actually bought the Healy coaching program today, Cutting It Fine, because today is apparently the last day that you can buy it for like one price. And I guess I've just been watching it for like ages, and I just never actually got around to getting it. And I was like, oh, okay, I better get this now. But I was really, really surprised last week, because we actually did a demo last Wednesday on it. And just before that, we did like a technical rehearsal, myself and Jacintha, because she'd never shared her screen before. So I said, let's just have a go before. And she just put in for me a couple of things about receiving like more abundance in my life, but being quite specific. And like, I'm not joking, within this week, like literally my whole world has just changed. In so many ways. I've just have so many opportunities have suddenly come up, and really, really aligned ones. And I'm like, wow, okay, that is quite amazing. And so it just shows you, like, sometimes, like, I don't use my Healy for a few days. I don't know if anyone else does that. Sometimes you get those days where you just like, you don't really turn to it, or you just somehow, the life just takes you by, and then you start using it again, and suddenly you start to see the results again. You go, why am I not using this every single day? Why is it just like some days, or, you know, whatever? And I think you really have to get into a routine. And I've said that so many times on this Healy Hangout before. But I do think it's super important that we really understand how incredible this Healy is. So yeah, it's so nice to meet someone who, you know, like yourself, who is also so passionate about it. And I think a lot of people in this room are passionate as well.
It's brilliant what happened to you with the coach. How often do you send the frequencies? Do you get them sent to you, and how long? So
she actually sent them to me every day for about 3 days. Yeah. She kept sending me a message saying frequencies incoming, so I knew they were coming. Sometimes I wouldn't see the message till later, so I wouldn't be able to connect, but, you know, they're still happening in my field. So it depends. Like, I try to run them, if I'm doing someone a distance scan, I do try to run them a few times for them if it feels right. I use my intuition so much. I mean, we talked about this the other day. I mean, when we have conversations, by the way, everyone, like, we may as well record them, because we always have such good, interesting conversations, don't we, Guy, about all sorts of things. But we talked about intuition, and you told me something about what Jan Frederick said. Do you want to share that?
Oh, yeah. We were talking about the resonance. And this is on an interview that I did with him some time ago. It's on my YouTube channel, which is the Heartful Healing one. And he was, I can't remember what I asked him exactly, but he was talking about the resonance, and he was saying, do you know, though, you've got one thing that you have that's more powerful than the resonance. You don't need any resonance, you don't need any quantum sensor for it, and that thing is your intuition. And he said, if your mind just wanders to a particular program and just is drawn to that program, that's as good an indication as any quantum sensor that that's the right program for you to run at this time. And I thought that was really interesting and a really nice way of putting it.
Yeah, exactly. And myself and Bernie were just talking. She's here on the Zoom. She's one of the regulars here. I did a group healing a few weeks ago, and just in the middle of that, I just got this information that someone from the replay who's watching it would really benefit from it. And I don't know where that information or thought came from, but I knew that it was something I had to pass on. And when we arrived on here, she just told me that she's just got better, and she was ill, and she watched it, and and that she knew it was for her. And I was like, well, that's amazing. I'm so happy that you knew it was for you, because that's also super interesting. So I totally believe in my intuition, and the more I believe in it, the more I know that it's guiding me in all ways. And that, in combination with Healy, it's just like, it's powerful.
Yes, definitely is.
So go ahead and tell us like how you've been like bringing Healy into your other work that you've been doing. Do you want to give us a bit of information on that?
Sure. Well, the other work I do that I've been doing for a while is healing, general healing, using the emotion code and the body code. These are modalities developed by an organization called Discover Healing, and specifically by a guy called Dr. Brad Nelson, who I won't tell you his whole story. It's a really interesting story. But basically he sort of discovered that trapped emotions are the root of pretty much everything that's wrong with us. So for example, if I'm in a really good and healthy condition and I go through an experience that might be challenging, then I will go through it. I'll not like the experience, I'll have a horrible time, I'll come out of the other end and I'll be fine and life will go on. However, if I'm not in a good condition, if I'm feeling like I don't have the bandwidth to take on another negative emotion at this time, I don't have the bandwidth, or the maybe I'm triggered by something and it's just leading me to push that emotional experience away. So it's not a particularly original discovery, but he discovered that emotion becomes repressed. It's no longer an emotion at all. It's a ball of energy that can go anywhere in the body and cause any sort of disruption. And so what we do with the emotion code is we basically, using muscle testing, we ask that person's subconscious mind what the root cause of that issue is. Are there any trapped emotions, for example, that are responsible for whatever it is, the leg pain? It might be leg pain, it might be a sense of insecurity, it might be whatever. And then we identify what each of those emotions are, we release them one by one, and the results are really amazing. I actually prefer to focus not on the problem though. I prefer, in the same way as with the Healy, when we're putting a focus statement in, we want it to be as positive as possible. We want it to not be, I'm going to be free of this terrible problem that's weighing me down and causing me all sorts of problems. We want to say, I want to have this experience where I am feeling light and I'm feeling joyful and whatever else, and my body is comfortable and it's full of energy, or whatever it is. And we want to really be as much as possible in that experience of the positive, just in our imagination, our experience of what we don't already have yet, because that's what attracts it. That's how the law of attraction works.
Can I ask a quick question, about the emotion code? How does it actually work? How do you release each emotion? Because it's always something that's kind of, I've always wanted to understand.
So it's a little weird if you're not used to it, but it's basically, I make the connection with that person first. So me and that person are connected. I use muscle testing to identify what the emotion is and any other information there is about it. Having identified it, I then release it. And I release that by swiping my own governing meridian. But because I'm connected to them, it releases the energy from their body as well. It releases the energy of that emotion.
Wow. From them.
So I use either the governing meridian around here or a pressure point for it, which I use on my hands, which is, it's easier to do on the train than to sort of keep swiping the top of my head.
Wow.
So that's the emotion code. The body code is very similar, except it's much bigger. It's about 100 times bigger, in that the emotion code, the entire emotion code, is a small part of the body code. The body code includes other imbalances as well. It includes energetic imbalances in various organs and other parts of the body. Includes actual structural misalignments, tiny structural misalignments that can be corrected energetically as well. Pathogens and toxins, as well as a much bigger range of energetic imbalances, including offensive energies, that are there to be detrimental to us. And it's, those modalities I've just been stunned by, and often, it's so easy to doubt, because it's so easy to do these methods, that it's easy to doubt that it's having any effect. Really, I'm just following a very simple process. And then I'm always stunned when somebody says, oh, do you know that pain that I had at the start of the session? That's gone now. And it happens so often. I was working with a lady yesterday. She'd started a new job. She was feeling really, really inadequate in the job. And she told me that, she didn't feel any different at the end of the session that we did, but the following day she went into work and she sort of felt that she could do anything. And that sort of thing is so common with the emotion code and the body code. I love it. So what I'm trying to do now, one of the ways I love using the emotion code and the body code is to manifest, is to sort of create a goal. and work towards that goal, work towards fully aligning someone subconsciously with that goal. And that's on the principle that whatever we believe subconsciously is what we're trying to manifest, what our subconscious is programmed to bring into our lives. And so it's about creating really positive beliefs, really positive goals, and aligning ourselves with those goals so that we believe that we can do them, we deserve to have them, and that we will have them, or that we not only that we will have them, but we do have them now. And when we have that belief, we're programmed to bring those into our lives as effectively as we possibly can. So what I'm wanting to do with the emotion code and the body code is to integrate that with the Healy work by coming at it from two angles. And I'm putting together at least one new package called quantum coaching, where we create a goal, we work on it with the emotion code and the body code to align the person to it. We also work with the Healy to use the Healy coach to send frequencies to back up that work. So you're getting it from two different angles. And additionally, because I'm working with a life coach on this, they're going to get actual life coaching to help them to do what they need to do practically. And because I think one of the things that we often overlook with energy work is that we have an active role to play as well in our in how we live our lives and how we work towards that goal. Because if I'm just sort of sending frequencies to myself but carrying on eating massive chocolate cakes every day, I'm not going to lose the weight, for example. So what the energy healing, what my thinking is that what the energy healing can do is take the compulsion away, take the compulsion for negative behaviors and sabotaging behaviors away. But what it doesn't necessarily do, it can if we're lucky, but it doesn't necessarily remove the habits that we've got into. So I think coaching is a really good complement to the energy work, because it gets us to align our habits with the new condition that we're getting through the energy work.
That sounds amazing, Guy. I really think that's great that when we start to combine different modalities, because it just brings Healy to the next level. I do believe that we need to have Healy works on its own great. And but the moment I started to detox my body physically, I noticed the Healy worked way better. I was much more sensitive. I was able to receive the frequencies on another level. And that in itself just changed my life, just doing that one thing, that physical thing. So that also confirmed to me, that Healy does work better when we start to change other small things in our lives, and also do, match it up with other things that interest us, so I think that's a really, really nice idea. Another, I know that Jazz Deep is she's a time waver therapist, and I work with her a little bit. She does these great group sessions. She's also bringing in breathing, deep breathing sessions, and running all sorts of different things on the time waver at the same time. And I think that's just amazing. I love that kind of the creativity that brings to what else we can create, and it brings it to the next level. Imagine what we can do if we all kind of start to get creative with it. I think it can really make big changes and big waves as well. So really, really cool.
Definitely. And I guess we each of us, we find our own set of things that have helped us, and we bring them together. So this is what I'm doing with Heartful Healing, is bringing together the emotion code, the body code, the Healy. And the one thing that I always recommend to people as an absolute foundation for everything, it's the thing that I discovered 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, and I've been doing it daily ever since, and honestly I wouldn't be alive without it, is Heartfulness Meditation, which is a really profound, it's an experience-based meditation. So it's not, there is the theory around it, but it's not about the theory. It's about doing the practical part of the meditation and experiencing the divine presence in the heart. And after doing this for 20 years, that's there with me all the time. And it's such a subtle thing, but it's such a profound thing that I just can't imagine what life would be like without it now.
Can you give us a little bit more information on what actually happens in a heartfulness meditation, so people can understand what that is?
Yeah, no, it's actually a very simple technique. We sit with the thought, with the suggestion, very subtle suggestion, that the source of light, which is already present in my heart, is drawing my attention inwards towards itself. That's it. Except that the meditation works on a principle of yogic transmission. So it's not like we can do this meditation cold, we need to go through a set of three not individual anymore, but three sittings, three meditation sessions that will prepare us actually to be able to receive this transmission when we sit by ourselves in meditation after that. But the good thing about heartfulness, it's not the good thing actually, it's just, but one of the good things is that it's free. It's always free. So nobody will ever charge you for doing heartfulness meditation. So whoever it's offered by, it will always be free. It's not permitted to charge for it. So
amazing. That's great. Meditation also saved my life. I don't know how it saved your life. I think for everyone it's different. But it definitely, I was at a very hard time of my life, and I think, it just came about, and I think meditation is just amazing. Whichever one you find, it's just so good if you can get into it and start to learn how to understand what it means to kind of learn how to hear the silence within, and also just listen to your body and what it is that you are and who you are, and and start to tap into your awareness. It's again, I think actually it's funny because when I first got Healy, I started the meditation room with Healy. That was my first thing that I started to create, but I guess I just moved on to doing other things. And then I was inviting people around to my house, and we were all coming around and everyone was doing meditation, and I was offering people to try the Healy, and we were doing it with the frequencies, and it's also really nice and powerful to do it like that as well.
Yeah, brilliant.
That's exciting, yeah. And I know there's a lot of people that are interested in the other kind of work that you do around the subject of autism. Can you give us a bit of background around that, and how you know about autism, and how you've come about working with that in that way? Yes.
So in 2011, my son was 1 year old, and we were really, he was growing away from us in many ways. We were losing our communication with him. He was very unresponsive, very distressed much of the time. He had lots of very severe meltdowns. It's actually my mum who had the idea that he might be autistic, and we sort of followed the route, and we found that he was autistic, but we identified it very, very early. So he was 1 year old at the time. And we sort of took a look at what people were getting when they went through the health service, the health system, with autism. And really we found that parents were having to spend all their energy chasing up doctors to move things along because there was a reluctance to diagnose. But they would do it because they thought at the end of it they'd get a huge amount of help. And they didn't get anything at all. And we sort of looked ahead, and we looked at other families, and we saw that's what was happening. So we thought, no, we're going to find another way to do this. We had no idea what that way was. But we ended up finding a clinic in Israel that we went to. It was a very small place in a little village in the north, beautiful little village that we went to. And they had such a simple way of just playing with him. I mean, they were doing much more than that, but to us it seemed like they were just playing with him. And it took him time to warm to it. But what they had him really engaging with them in a way that he hadn't, we hadn't had for months and months, we hadn't had a quarter of a second of eye contact from him at that point. By the end of our time there, we were there for 3 weeks, he was looking at us and smiling and interacting. And there's such a beautiful story that when we were going to Israel, when we were on the way there, the journey was extremely difficult. He had to give up his pushchair on the way, which he really hated to do. And he was screaming in the aeroplane, and he had a meltdown in there, and we thought we were going to get thrown off. And eventually he cried himself to sleep, and we were allowed to stay on. But it was such a stressful journey. On the way back, he sort of stood up voluntarily and joyfully from his pushchair. He gave it to the cabin staff. He held us, took my wife's hand in one hand and my hand in the other, and he walked on happily with us. It was such a profound transformation, and it taught us something about autism as well, because he went on developing into a really joyful, loving, amazing child after that, in a way that the doctors led us to believe would never be possible. And it taught us not to see autism as a disability. It taught us to see autism as it's simply a different neurological type. That's all it is. And the autistic people have some difficulties, but they have other enormous assets that many other people don't have. They have a profound idealism, which they put into practice. So there's so many really positive things, and that's why I started the charity, to give other families that's the sort of experience that we have. I wrote a book about the experience we had before going to Israel, during and after. The book's called Transforming Autism. And on the back of the book, I gave a TED talk called The Beautiful Reality of Autism, which sort of talks a bit more about the story, but also puts forward a really empowering conception of autism. And it's gone down really well with the autistic community as well, which it's been seen by nearly 250,000 people now. And a couple of years after that, I discovered that I was autistic myself, which I didn't realise. And I'd gone through the bulk of my life without knowing that I was autistic. So fitting in to the social norms and conventions of a world that I wasn't built for. I was built for a different way of connecting and communicating with people. And it's really interesting, because there are a lot of studies now that show that the standard thinking is that autistic people don't understand social cues. They don't have any social instinct. They prefer to be alone. That's where the word autism comes from, auto, self. But actually the studies are showing that's not true at all. It's when you get autistic people together and you compare it with getting non-autistic people together, and it's properly studied, there's no difference at all. And in fact, on some measures, autistic people are more inclined towards social activity. The difficulty comes when you mix autistic and non-autistic people together. They don't understand each other so well, so you get the disconnect there. And in our world, it's 99% non-autistic, 1% autistic, so it very much looks like the autistic person's got the problem. But what we're trying to do as the charity is to help people understand it in a different way. Wow,
that's absolutely fascinating. So I know quite a few autistic people, and I've noticed that actually, because when they get together, they're amazing. They're like, their minds work like incredibly together. So I really can understand that, and it makes a lot of sense actually. That's great. I'm gonna have to get your book and read it.
Great.
I actually did a drama class for autistic kids years ago, because I'm a drama teacher, believe it or not. That's what I actually studied, and it was amazing actually. Getting them moving and being expressive was just incredible. It's great. Very rewarding to see them create something like different with themselves and with each other. It's great.
Sounds fun, drama teaching.
Yeah, I love it. I miss it actually. I should do some more of that. So I mean, we've just got through like so much information in half an hour, by the way. I don't know how we did that.
I don't know how long this is supposed to be, by the way. So.
Well, it's usually, it can be an hour. Usually I struggle to get it under an hour, but it's not about that anyway. We can talk about all sorts of things if we want to. I just want to know if anyone here has any questions for Guy, actually, just to throw it out there. I've got also the Facebook group as well. which I can have a look in. If anyone wants to write a question, feel free to write it in there. Can I ask where you find? I'm just having a look. Yeah, you've got a few people just writing some comments here on Facebook.
Okay.
Andrea is asking if there's a chart for the body codes like the emotion code.
No, but there's an app. And you don't need to be qualified to get the app. You can get the app and it sort of guides you through how to use it for yourself if you want to have a go at it. It's called, I think it's just called the Discover Healing app, and you get it through the Discover Healing website. Discover
Healing app. Okay, even I'm going to write that down.
Right.
Discover Healing app. Okay, great. Thank you. There's your answer, Andrea. Yeah, great. And anyone here want to ask any questions? Otherwise, we will just keep going before we start babbling on. Okay, great. How did you find the coaching module, Guy? Like, have you already tried combining it with the Healy? I'm sorry, have you already started combining it with your emotion code, your body?
You know
code?
what, I haven't, and I should have done, shouldn't I? It's like I get all these great ideas, and until something prompts me, I don't necessarily put them into effect. But no, I haven't. And now that you ask me that, I'm going to do that from tomorrow.
Yeah, because I'm just really, really curious, because I think it would be a good thing to do here on the Healy Hangout, because we sometimes do demos.
Yeah.
And everyone loves to see it in action, and I think that would be really cool. I'm also
I'd love to. If you want me to do that, I'd be really happy to.
Yeah, it would be good, actually. You know, like just because it's new, and it's just great to have something new that we're all still learning about as well, which is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And I just wanted to ask as well, in relation to the Healy, what is it that you can recommend to everyone to do for? I mean, I don't want to use this because Healy is not a tool for healing any type of illness or anything like that. And there is a disclaimer out there. There is no scientific evidence for what I'm about to ask, Guy. But if you've used anything on your son for autism, have you got any kind of testimonials or anything like that that's helped?
Yeah. So I have used the aura a lot with him. So putting in a goal, and and there is a story. I just can't, it's just not that clear in my head what it was at the moment. But there was a time when it's going to sound a bit weak because I don't remember the details, but we'd put in a certain goal, and that afternoon I was out walking with him, and he said something which really indicated that he'd moved a big step towards that just after a couple of short transmissions to him. So I like using the aura with him. What we try and do, we just give him, we try and give him 1 to 2 programs a day, which would either be one of the gold cycle or coherence. Or actually, at the moment, we're sort of encouraging focus on things that he's doing. So we're using the concentration program.
Oh, that's great. How old is he now then?
12.
Oh, wow. So that was quite a long time ago that you went to Israel.
Yeah. 10 years ago.
Wow, that's amazing. Great. So because he's 12, do you use the Healy in a specific way? Do you use the coil or?
We use the coil.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Because obviously you don't want, I guess that it's not recommended to use for kids, the wristbands, is it? So
it's not recommended. My suspicion is it's not recommended because, just for legal coverage. He's just not really open to having floppy wires coming off him and all of that sort of thing. Yeah. Otherwise, we probably would. Yeah, definitely. Ben is asking actually if there's a course on the emotion and body code. Yeah, you can get certified in them.
Yeah, is it similar to Body Talk, she's asking?
No, I don't. Well, I don't really know Body Talk, but I would assume not. So the emotion code is really, it depends if you want to learn it just to do on yourself and your family, in which case there's a book called The Emotion Code by Dr. Bradley Nelson. You can just get it from Amazon. That's how I started to learn it. And then if you want to take it further, you can do the certification program, which, well, it takes up to 6 months, but you can do it much faster. I did it in 6 weeks. Basically, there's a whole set of learning, and then you do 30 sessions on different people and submit them as case studies, and you get sort of tutoring along the way.
So this is funny that we actually came together. I want to just add this in because I'm very interested in emotions, actually. And I've done a lot of emotional work on a physical level, actually. Yeah. So when I said I started meditation, I used to do a lot of Osho meditations. And it just came about to me that doing something active was what I needed to go deeper. And I don't know if anyone here knows about any of the Osho meditations, but there's one called dynamic meditation that is done regularly on the morning, and you get up really early and you do it, and you go kind of crazy, you jump, you do the breathing in and out of the nose for 10 minutes chaotically to change the pattern of the breathing. And then if you breathe correctly, or if you breathe enough, it will then move the emotions inside of you, and then you go through a catharsis stage. And that's where you just let what's inside come out, which is super powerful once you start to get the confidence, or at one point you don't even think about having confidence because it just comes out of you anyway when you've been breathing. And then you kind of ground it with jumping up and down. And, people can see this as a bit crazy, but it is just so incredible when you go into the silent stage, because you have to stop and you don't move for 15 minutes. But if you've gone deep enough in the first half an hour, you'll just get launched into meditation. And that's what I did for 5 years. So I did it every morning at 7 a.m. for 5 years, with probably every month, and we had maybe a week in between. And that was just so incredible, just to kind of have that experience with myself, because you release so many emotions through that. And then on top of that, I do something called the Om meditation, which is something that it's actually a place called University in Holland, if anyone's heard of it, which was a center that was set up based around the idea of Osho meditations, but it was brought to the next level. And there was a meditation called Om, which is called Awareness Understanding Meditation. You can find people kind of traveling and doing these meditations all over. You have to kind of search for them and know who they are. I've got a few contacts. And what they do is you go and you do a 3-hour active kind of moving meditation where you go through different windows of emotion. So the first window is anger. So you go through 20 minutes of rage, and you have a person to reflect you, and they give you a position to stand in. So it's safe, but you release rage. And that in itself is just, when have we ever been able to feel rage? It's not allowed in this society to feel these emotions, and to be able to go into that space where you can actually be in rage is just incredible. And then what's underneath it starts to come out. So when I first went through that stage, I just couldn't stop crying. Actually, I couldn't believe what actually was below it, and it scared me actually. And then you move through other ones like love and madness. Madness is great. You just go crazy in the room and just attack a bunch of pillows and stuff. Just amazing to be able to have that space to release all of these emotions. And then you go through sadness, and then also feeling sexy as well, having that feeling of being allowed to be playful as well, and just with your sexuality, which is often not allowed. And it's just the most amazing meditation. And it brings you to an emotional intelligence of, when you do it the first time, it's it's a bit like emotional exercise, or it's really working through them, and you really start to understand what your emotions are, and then you start to see them all as energy, and they're just energy, and they're all just energy in different frequencies in a way. And when you've done that 10 times, you feel like you can take on the whole world, because you're not afraid to feel those emotions anymore, or it's not put on you to not be allowed to feel them. So you have a space where you can just go. It's like a clean out, you go for 3 hours and you just let it all go, and you feel I've had a bit of been in the washing machine, I've let it all off, had a clean, and you leave the room and you feel light, and you can breathe, and you can go into silence easier, and you're not annoyed with your partner for something that's, pissed you off earlier on in the day that actually you don't need to be, it's just that you've got that emotion inside of you, and it's triggered by the person around, the people around you, which a lot of us do. We project on each other. And for me, emotions are just so incredibly interesting. It's fascinating. I could sit here and talk about it all day. So when a lot of people are coming to me, telling me about the emotion code, and I don't know anything about it. And I'm definitely interested to learn more. And I'd also love to do a course in it, because it seems like something that could also work hand in hand with doing the physical work as well. So
yeah, no, definitely. And that process that you went through, it sounds like a very different way, but it sounds like the result is very similar in that you're releasing the emotions, because the emotions are getting trapped. You say that we're not allowed to feel rage, we're not allowed to explore our sexuality or whatever it is, when we have an urge to do something, when we have an emotion that we're not really allowed to express, we choose to repress it, because it would be more difficult to actually express it and be judged, we think. So when something's repressed, it's not being properly processed. It sounds like what you were doing was picking up that process and completing it. I think you were releasing trapped emotions.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's why they call depression, because it's depressing, like repressing all your emotions. It's just that we need to move our emotions out, because that's the hard thing in society, that people are worried about how they look from the outside as well. And I just think that if we can use this emotion code, find ways that we can start to release our emotions. I mean, actually tapping is quite good, because I know earlier you said, we try not to go into the negative, but I've always been kind of in the way of, oh, you can't be negative, oh, you've always got to be positive, and actually I always feel like I shouldn't actually look at it. And I like tapping because you actually acknowledge the feeling that you feel as well as release it, which I think is also very, very good for you.
I think, we hear a lot about, you're not supposed to be negative. And it's true, you're not going to get results if you're negative. However, before you can be positive, you have to acknowledge the negative. You have to, just say this is there. This is what there is, and I'm going to spend some time being mired in the filth of it before I move on. And that's part of the process as well that we often overlook.
For sure. Yeah, so I just saw as well that Derek's put in the chat. He said he just purchased the coaching module for his time waiver med, and would love to see a demo of the healing coaching module. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, because I guess it's very different on the time waiver, is it? It must be. Yeah, I mean, actually, I've been doing a little bit of I've been looking at a lot of things on the time waiver recently with Jazz Deep, which has completely blown my mind. And I just want to share it here with everyone, because I had a session with her yesterday. And she showed me this one module, which is like, it can scan your timeline from prenatal, before birth, until like the future. And she scanned my prenatal to my birth, and it's just incredible, like what comes up. I mean, it came up that it tells you where all the traumas are, or were, if there's any. And there's one which came up like 6 months after I was like conceived. So the moment the soul comes into the body. And then there was 4 before I was born, in very close proximity. Now I did have quite a difficult birth that I'm aware of. But it's interesting because you can actually scan all these traumas, and it tells you what actually happened, or it gives you a suggestion of what it could have been. And it's like even just thought patterns of the mother, or like, it's just incredible. I was like, wow, this machine is just so amazing. Like,
that really sounds amazing.
It's just mind blowing. Showed me another module which was like how you are in proximity in relationships with someone, and how far away you are to each other, or how close you are to each other energetically, on different levels. And just, it's just absolutely mind blowing. I think that like we're going to be, doing quite a lot of, hopefully bringing some more demos with that. And I'm sure Derek, we could also have a play around at some point, I'm sure.
You did one last week, I think, didn't you? That's on the YouTube channel, right?
What, with Time Waiver?
No, with Healy.
Healy coaching, yes, exactly, Derek. So last Wednesday we did a little demo. You'll see it. It's on this Facebook channel, or it's also YouTube. It's also recorded on there. I can post the link so you can watch that one. It's a very quick one. It's quite simple. but we didn't really go so deep into it. But actually, I got a lot of really good feedback from everyone saying they loved the demo and they learned so much. Jacinta put in, we did a scan of someone in the group actually, and she actually scanned her at age 12, which I've never seen happen before. So you can scan any of your clients at a particular age, and then you can look into that at that age, what was going on, and you can release it at that age, and then you can move forward. So there is just so much you can do with this if you get creative. I don't know where she learned that actually. I don't know if it's something that she just came up with. She's very creative as Jacinta. She comes up with lots of great ideas. So I think we will do more. Maybe next Wednesday we will do another Healy coaching session. I don't have anything planned for next Wednesday. So anyone here that wants to join, I've got the coaching module now. So if anyone wants to come on, we can have a play around. And just see what we can do. Maybe Guy, you want to come on and we can match it with the emotion codes.
That would be brilliant. I think that would be a brilliant thing to do.
Yeah, so maybe to be continued, next Wednesday we come on again and we just like have a play around with it, and we see what we can come up with this body code, emotion code, and maybe even have a quick demo. Derek's in.
In the meantime, again on my I don't want to be plugging all of my stuff, but on my website, on my YouTube channel, there are introductions to the emotion code and the body code, and there are a couple of sample sessions as well, because I've recorded sessions I've done with a couple of clients and I've put them up there so people can see what a session looks like and how it works.
Awesome, that's great. And plug away, like I don't mind. This is all about co-creating. I'm not so funny about that, and that's why I have people on here, because it's interesting to come together and to share all our knowledge in one space. I think in this day and age, we need to be co-creating, not competing. So let's co-create together, and let's educate each other or bring education for each other, and just grow as one. That's the whole idea of this Healy Hangout anyway.
Brilliant.
So it's been so nice to have you on. Thank you so much.
It's been great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, we always have such a good convo. Just seeing if there's any more comments before we go. Oh yeah, great. Just have a look at the Facebook page. Awesome. Oh, amazing. Great. Yeah, that's it, everyone. Thank you so much. Deborah's just told me that the coaching module and the power of 3 has been extended to the 31st of January. What a surprise. I love Healy. I love the way they just keep extending stuff. So everyone, if you haven't got the coaching module, you've still got some time, which is just great. Join us next week for a demo. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. It was great. We had like 15 people join us on Facebook Live as well. That's fantastic. And come again. Keep joining us. We love everyone here.
Brilliant. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.